So, Matt, the Australian economy going strong. It never had a recession, just a slowdown, and it's now coming out of that better than anyone had anticipated. So what's it down to?
Yeah, the Australian economy looks quite good at the moment. We're seeing pretty impressive results, both in terms of retail sales, also consumer and business confidence has recovered to quite high levels. But in particular, emerging market demand for Australia's resources, particularly the key steel ingredients of iron ore and coal, have really buoyed national income, and you've seen that flow through to not just wages but also employment, with the economy adding an extraordinary 200,000 jobs in the last 5 months alone. This means that we're probably going to see really strong growth rates here in Australia over the next few quarters, and a fair bit of upside potential to some of the forecasts that are out there.
Now, China is, of course, a huge factor. So what are the potential threats on the horizon for the Australian economy? Tightening in China, perhaps more problems in Japan. What about another global slowdown?
Yeah, most of the risks to the forecasts are from the external perspective. As you noted, China is Australia's largest export market, and the extent to which stagnation in both US and European demand for China's goods would flow through to Australia through that key export transmission mechanism. Also, the extent to which some of the domestic issues could weigh on Australia's growth rates. They're not quite as dire or in terms of the risks that they pose, but the extent to which the Reserve Bank here could tighten monetary policy too quickly and ensue some kind of slowdown in the housing market and weigh on consumer sentiment, that could flow through to a lot of the business sentiment that we've witnessed.
Now, how does a problem like Greece have an impact on Australia's economy or even the economy over in Asia? Does it perhaps make investors look upon them favorably since they're in a better fiscal position?
Yeah, I guess sovereign default fears really weigh on investor confidence across the entire globe, and it limits the extent to which investors are willing to invest their funds anywhere, and it does make them start to look around at different countries and start to differentiate. Perhaps from the Australian perspective, though, it enhances Australia as a destination for investment funds. You'd be aware that the Australian government has very low debt to GDP ratios, has a relatively small budget deficit, and the very sustainable government finances here mean that Australia's debt is probably one of the outstanding places in the world at the moment, given the problems that we're seeing in Europe.
Right. Thanks very much, Matt Robinson, senior economist there at Moody's Analytics. Thanks so much for joining us.